A Barmania bar in your own home? Let's check it out. So Barmania is a Dutch company and they're very well known for their calisthenics products, and now they have gotten into calisthenics products for your home. And today we're checking out our first product by Barmania, which is the freestanding pull-up bar. So it was quite easy to set this one up. Of course, it takes a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it because I really like the look of this bar. It's actually huge. It is very high and also a very wide bar. So I'm very curious if it's also going to be stable. I do really like the look of the black powder coated steel. And of course, you can see that on the bottom, they don't have two support bars, but they just have one in the middle. And they have these anti-slip feet, which have the BarmaniaPro logo on it. And also on the side of this bar, you have the BarmaniaPro logo. Plus you have the icon with a sticker, which looks cool, but I'm not sure if it's gonna stay on forever. Maybe it will start peeling off. And over here, you can also see that you can choose the height of the bar. But of course, since it is like a screw, you're not gonna change the height that often. So it's just you choose it one time or maybe a couple of times, and then you can hang it on the height that you prefer. Right now, I can do a pull-up like this, but it is definitely very close to my ceiling. You have to put these two bars together, but I think that will be very sturdy anyway. So the usable part of this bar is about 115 centimeters, and that is because you have the caps over here. And this is actually how the assembly instruction tells you to do it, but you could also just turn around these screws and then the caps will be on the outside, which will actually save you 3 or 4 centimeters. But in both cases, this bar is definitely very wide. And the diameter of this bar is about 32 millimeters, which is definitely usual for pull-up bars. So the length of the feet over here are 153 centimeters. So this is definitely very long. We haven't seen feet this long on a freestanding pull-up bar. So I'm definitely very curious about the forward stability. So the height of the bar right now is about 224 centimeters. And if you would put it on the lowest setting, it would be 160 centimeters. And you can actually change it in 9 different increments of 8 centimeters. So with a high pull-up bar like this, I was definitely curious whether I would hit the ceiling, but I don't. And actually, you could put it lower, but then you would have to bend your knees more because now I can fully stretch my legs, so that is very nice. It kind of comes down to the balance with space for your head and for your legs. So the grip of the bar is definitely very similar to other bars that I've tested. So the black powder coated steel is always in between smooth and rough, so it's definitely a nice grip. So this bar is definitely very nice for wide pull-ups because it's obviously a very wide bar. I do feel that it is wobbling slightly, so I'm also very curious if I would take this one outside and do a muscle up on it, for instance, whether on the top it will get too wobbly, but for pull-ups I don't notice it that much. So let's check out some other exercises. Oh, if I do an archer, you definitely feel it more because there's more sideways movement going on. So if I do this, then it definitely wobbles more than I'm used to, but so far I haven't really noticed it at all when doing exercise below the bar. So we'll definitely test out above the bar later on. So when I'm doing exercise on the bottom bar, I definitely do hit my thumb or my knuckles on the floor. So it would be actually nicer if this bar is just a little bit higher. So of course you can also combine this bar with some resistance bands, and then you can do assisted work or you can do your warm-up with this bar. Because it is so high, it is actually very nice that you can extend your legs fully while still doing assisted work. I was afraid that it was gonna fall over, but it doesn't. So you can definitely do your warm-up on this as well. So if you don't want to make your exercise easier but harder, this bar actually has a load capacity of 200 kilos. So there's definitely space for using a weight vest to do some weighted calisthenics. Very nice. And lastly, our favorite thing to combine with a bar like this is the gymnastics rings, because then you can also do some dips or you can do some muscle ups. So let's try it out. Whoa. All right, so this definitely wobbles when you're on the top. Yeah. It does. So if you want to do straight bar dips, I would definitely put it on a lower setting. Scary. So before we conclude, we actually found out that 94% of our viewers don't actually subscribe. So subscribe so that we can make more and better reviews for you with more and more partners. So this pull-up bar costs 250 euros and it was very easy to assemble. It has a very nice build quality and also I do really like the look of this bar. The grip, it is nice, it is a usual width, and also the grip, it feels very nice on the hands. The forward stability, even though it is a very high bar, it is still very stable because of the feet, probably because they are very long. And when it comes to the sideways stability, you definitely feel it, but when you're doing exercise on it, you don't really notice it that much, except for when you're doing exercise on the top of the bar. You can take it outside, but then we wouldn't really recommend doing dips or muscle ups, and pullover are actually very scary. So we wouldn't recommend those. But of course, if you want to make it more stable, you also have the option to put it lower. And if you put it here, it's actually very nice for doing indoor muscle ups. But then of course, you do lose the benefit of having such a high bar and not having to bend your knees when you're doing exercises. And apart from all of that, you can also combine this one with some gymnastics rings or with a weighted vest or with resistance bands, so that is very nice. So with all of that in mind, we do recommend this pull-up bar. So we actually have a discount code for you, which is CWW10 for 10% off. So click the links in the description or here, and then we'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.